And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to On The Blueline with Phil and Chad. I'm your host, Phil Bernardi, and this is my co-host, Chad Van Dursen. How are you doing, Chad?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. We've had a busy first few weeks on the NHL, and boy, my head is spinning.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about first?
Oh, man. Well, some teams are really on the rise here. We got the Oilers,
No doubt, that was a surprise.
I mean, I know McDavid's good and all, but holy cow. The Oilers, they're first place in the Pacific Division, and they're first place in the entire Western Conference.
It is amazing how Connor McDavid, with his captain role and, what he's really bringing to the team from, his expectation. It's awesome to see. It seems like he's really able to carry them like he's expected to. And, along with that, the Oilers doing well. The success also is due to Cam Talbot.
You hit the nail right on the head. And as a former goalie and current goalie, I got to say, Cam Talbot leading the league with 7 wins. He looks really comfortable now in the starting role.
Oh, yeah. And, the fact that he was third star of the week as of, yeah, I mean, 26 out of 26, he's last 5 games, 5 wins.
Yeah, and he's tied for lead in shutouts at 2. Like I said, he looks a lot more comfortable this season. Last year it looked like he had a little bit of the yips as a starter, but he's got a good backup in Jonas Gustafsson to help spell him.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a really good goaltender. They're defensemen that they just acquired through a trade.
Oh, Adam Larson.
Yeah. He's a big set guy, able to push guys throughout the net, and I'm sure that's also helping Talbot.
Oh, yeah, your prototypical Swede these days. Aaron Ekblad, Victor Hedman, Adam Larson, they're all over 6'5", big puck-moving defensemen. Yeah, big boys, modeling the game after one of the greats, Nick Lindstrom.
Yeah, and, it seems like they keep on going, man. The guy on the Ducks, Vatanen.
Sami Vatanen.
Sami Vatanen, yeah, Vatanen. That guy's another good another good example of the puck-moving defenseman.
Oh, yeah, I really got to agree with you there. The good thing about Vatanen is he also has a blazer of a wrist shot.
Oh, man, have you seen a couple of those goals, Phil?
Man, he just loves the deke. I mean, he's kind of smaller compared to, Larson, Hedman, and Ekblad, but he does just the same good job defensively as they do.
Yeah, and no doubt. The thing is about the Anaheim Ducks, going with John Gibson as their goalie doesn't look too good.
I gotta agree. Gibson had a game where his angles were worse than a circle.
Right, you're right on that. I mean, he has no positioning, nothing.
So if the Ducks want to make the playoffs this year, John Gibson really has to up his play. They look a little thin on defense. I think Cam Fowler also needs to step it up.
Oh, yeah. Bad goaltending will definitely do that. One team that I want to talk about with goaltending is the Kings and how their playoff success or no playoffs at all, how they'll factor in throughout the season.
Yeah, Quick has a lower body injury, but the way that I saw it happen during the game, it looked like he tweaked his left knee.
It looked really bad.
Yeah, he was just pushing off in the butterfly. And, that's unfortunately the way goalies are happening to get injured these days are through the knees. I can attest to that. I'm going on my second knee surgery this December, Chad.
Yeah, and it takes a toll, man. It's really, being a goalie it's got to be really tough. I mean, I have not been a goalie. I'm a skater. But at the same time, I feel for you goalies and what you guys have to go through.
Well, we're going to have to see what Jeff Zakoff is made of, which is a good thing. They brought him in as a draftee to help see, if he could be Quick's backup, and now he's taking the number 1 role with Budaj, and a nice veteran backup.
I agree.
And Zakoff, he's been doing decent, but Man, those Kings teams, they sometimes are a little thin on defense. I mean, all you got is Drew Doughty, Alec Martinez, and Jake Muzzin.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that they're trying to they're trying to score more goals. You put Anze Kopitar as your captain, and you know that was what it was expected. You know, so if Jonathan Quick went down, you know they were hoping that they would still be able to score more goals. At the same time, it has not worked out, and that's a result as to why they're 1-3.
Exactly, as you said, they're circling the wagons around their rookie netminder. Well, maybe this might be his second season, but they're still circling the wagons around their young netminder, Zakhoff. And Kopitar, I like to say, is a 2.0 version of Taves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he does it all. He wins faceoffs, you know, big body, you know, sets up everybody around him, makes everybody better around him.
Yes, precisely. And he does what every coach loves, back checking.
Back checking is right. You know, I mean, that's the reason why the Kings love him. I wonder what it would be like if he were to go on to another team, how many points he could score not being on a defensive team. He's a great player.
I definitely got to agree. Well, speaking of teams that are getting better, I got to say the New York Islanders are definitely surprising me.
Oh, yeah. You know, Johnny Tavares, you know, the absence of Nick Leddy, you know, you have defensemen stepping up. Johnny Borchuk is putting up goals. You know, the fact that they have a back end, you know, a great third and fourth line that complements the first and second. It's a great combination.
Yeah, and Halak, you know, we've seen some players and even goalies now get hurt from, you know, playing in the World Cup, but Halak just looks like he took the World Cup. You know, he was on Team Europe, and they made it to the finals against Team Canada and eventually lost. But he looks like he's been taking his ride to success from the World Cup all the way through the start of the season.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And, you know, it's good to see. You know, maybe the World Cup, you know, might have helped that.
Yeah, there's definitely been some positive and negatives towards the World Cup.
I agree with that.
Our next subject is a new subject and segment called The Sin Bin. Well,
here we go.
You just got called for an elbow, Chad. 2 minutes in the box.
Going it up over here.
Well, our topic, though, dynamic duos today in the NHL, no matter what age.
Which one would you like to start with on that?
Well, I'm going to start off with Calgary's Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau.
Why do you like them both?
Well, Johnny Gaudreau, a.k.a. Johnny Hockey, he's a little guy, but, man, he is speedy, and he's got vision like a puma in the nighttime.
It's ridiculous how fast he is. I'm just like how good he is, and you know, with that duel with Sean Monahan, you know how they're a power forward team with Gaudreau there. He's a huge asset as to why those power forwards are able to produce and, you know, drive to the net like they do.
Oh yeah, and those power forwards definitely make it a lot easier for Gaudreau to have more space to maneuver around.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Monahan is he's like a younger version of Corey Perry, and he's just gonna get better.
He's just gonna get better, is right. I mean, Corey Perry has had success by being that big power forward, and with that skill, Sean Monahan, the way he's producing and the position that he's in, I can't wait to see what he does throughout the season.
It looks like their GM, Brian Burke, definitely got himself a clone.
Oh, yeah. He knows his power forwards, that's for sure.
So now, who do you think is a dynamic duo in the NHL?
You know, I like Austin Matthews and William Nylander a lot.
Yes, that's Michael's son. He used to be on the Blackhawks, and, man, he really torched the Blackhawks.
Oh, yeah. That was... Man, I mean, Will obviously learned a few things from him, so to say. Yeah, what I really wanted to get to was how Austin Matthews, you know, he's at 9 points. 9 points, and William Nylander's at 7 points. And, you know, the way they set each other up, you know, and the Blackhawks game the other night, they put up 2 goals, you know, going towards that duel. And, yeah, man, those plays were just awesome to watch.
Yeah, I mean, even when it came down to being in a shootout, man, Matthews made that 5-hole snipe look so easy against Scott Darling.
Yeah, and you know, it was a beautiful shot.
Well, your time in the box is up. You served your time, Chad. Get back out on the ice and help your team.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get out of here.
Well, speaking of the Chicago Blackhawks, I know this is one of your favorite teams. Their power play numbers haven't been as good as they usually have been.
No, but this year they are second in the power play.
You wouldn't really notice it though.
No.
They're very enigmatic. Sometimes they'll go 0 for 6. Other nights they'll go 2 for 3.
Sometimes I'm watching that game and I'm just like, shoot it, just shoot the puck. It's too much pre-play trying to set it all up.
Yeah, I think they caught a little bit of the Russian flair from Anisimov and Panarin. But another team within the division of the Blackhawks, the St. Louis Blues. Now, they have always been trying to catch up with the Joneses, so to speak, with the Blackhawks.
It's hard to do.
Oh, yes, it is. But I think they may have gotten them this year.
Maybe. Tarasenko is putting up a lot of numbers. Their back end, their third and fourth lines, complementing their second lines, which I always figure that's key to have. And I think that maybe they might have something going. Jake Allen.
Yep, Jake Allen on goal, man. It's like once Brian Elliott left town, it was like an 800-pound gorilla got lifted off of Allen's back, and he doesn't have to look over his shoulder and see if someone's gonna take the job out from under him. He's got a good, reliable young backup in Carter Hutton, who backed up Pecorine last season with the Predators. I also got to say, St. Louis, getting rid of David Backes may have been a smart move.
You know what? I think so. It all comes down to, with Backes, he was a really good third line player, but for, being on the first and second line wasn't his thing. And, they found it out too late, but...
Right, yeah. He was a good character guy and all, but they ultimately had to let him go, and it looks like they are firing on all cylinders.
All cylinders, man. Shattenkirk is firing them too, and man, those shots. If you watch Shattenkirk shoot the puck when he's open, it goes in. That puck goes in.
We mentioned Sami Vatanen earlier, but Shattenkirk, he's made from about the same mold.
Yeah, definitely. This puck moving, even the size.
Yeah, precisely. Well, Winnipeg, they finally are having some good luck this season.
Yeah, their goalie duel, with Hellebuck and
Mike Hutchinson.
What do you think about that, Phil?
Well, I like that they have both a right-handed catching goalie and a left-handed catching goalie. I feel like you never know what you're going to get on the day of a game from the Jets.
It is a huge advantage to have, not being able to predict which side that you want to shoot on, how you set up your lines left and right.
Exactly. You would know as a forward, especially as a center.
Oh, yeah. And, the fact that you don't have that prepared, that automatic left-handed glove goalie throws them off every time.
Yeah, and, it'll be interesting to see what they do once they get Pavlik back. And another member of the Jets that's been on fire is Blake Wheeler.
Oh, man. That guy's definitely filling the captaincy role really well.
Yeah, he took over for Andrew Ladd, who moved on to New York, who's helping John Tavares light up the league and make him the star that he deserves to be. He's been underrated for so many years, John Tavares.
I agree. He just does everything well, so fundamentally well.
Yeah, and that's how you don't really notice him. Is he's just so well, and it looks
effortless.
Yeah, exactly like Matthews.
Yeah.
We're in a special day and age in hockey, I believe.
We're blessed. Going back to Austin Matthews, being going from the Swedish league, and building his skill that way. It's definitely nice to see.
He actually was in the Swiss league.
Ooh, man.
But don't worry about it, Chid. But I'm glad you brought up about Anaheim and Jonathan Gibson. That situation scares me.
It definitely does, because I don't see him doing anything.
It's sad, and they got Randy Carlisle back. I mean, that's kind of, they're hoping for nostalgia, but you can't bring Pronger or Jiggy back.
No,
Shigeru.
can't rely on them, that's for sure. And yeah, they're definitely in trouble.
Well, let's get a little away from the moribund news of the Anaheim Ducks to teams celebrating their 50th years in the NHL.
Yeah, which team would you like to start with on that?
Well, I'm going to start with one that's always been near and dear to my heart for the way they've played, the Philadelphia Flyers.
You gotta love them, Phil. Broad Street Bullies.
One of the first and fastest teams to win a Stanley Cup after being an expansion team. They won in 1972. They had one of the best goalies, Bernie Parent, one of the first diabetic athletes in Bobby Clark, with that glorious toothless grin holding the cup. That's one of my favorite teams. And that orange uniform, there's just something about that orange and white.
There definitely is that, that feel that it gives you to be a fan of Philadelphia.
So then, what other team do you want to talk about that's celebrating their 50th year?
Well, I would like to actually go back on the Flyers and say why I really like them is, I'll go back to watching YouTube videos about them beating up the USSR, and that was my favorite, just kicking the garbage out of them.
Oh, when you had Bobby Clark take a nice lumberjack swing at Valery Karlamov's ankle.
I remember that.
Well, those are your Philly Flyers for you.
Going back to the Blues, that's a team I would like to talk about again. With being their 50-year anniversary and how they're putting their team together, it'd be great to see, on a 50th year anniversary, them win the Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah, especially for the first time. I mean, they haven't been there since Bobby Orr scored that famous flying goal through the air.
Yeah, such a long time ago, and it's a big drought for a great city with a lot of good fans that would love to see it.
Yeah, the Blues, they got a nice good rink in the Scott Trade Center. I want to say another good team that's finally gotten some good juju these past few years is the LA Kings, also celebrating their 50th year.
Yeah, it's really disappointing in that 50th year how quick went down.
At least in the early part of the season. We can only hope they make it back. Well, as an Avalanche fan, I can hope they don't pass the Avalanche, but I won't hold my breath.
No, that's for sure. I would definitely like to see either of these teams. The fact that you have two. I'm looking at two Eastern Conference teams and two Western Conference teams. It'd be nice to see them collide in a 50th year anniversary. We'll see though.
Oh my goodness! Could you imagine that?
Oh man, it'd be nice. Which team would you root for? You got the Pens and the Flyers. Then you have the Kings and the Blues. Well, my call would be I would like to see the Blues.
Yeah, I would too. I feel the Blues are due. They've had some tough years. They've had some good years. They've had Wayne Gretzky. They've had Brett Hull. They've also had Brent Johnson.
Yeah, a lot of great players of the past. With Ken Hitchcock, and being I think he's a great coach. I would really like to see Ken Hitchcock to also get a Stanley Cup along with this 50th anniversary for the Blues.
I think Ken Hitchcock does have what it takes as a coach. He won the Cup with the Stars in '99, with the infamous Brett Hull skating the crease.
Oh, that's right.
Against the Sabres and with Dominic Hasek. But Ken Hitchcock knows how to navigate a room quite well.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of teams celebrating our anniversaries, we got the Rangers 90 years.
90 years. Yeah, I've always liked the Rangers and what they've done, and celebrating a 90-year anniversary. Man,
I love it. I hope they do it, man. I always have a soft spot for the Rangers, especially in the Eastern Conference, just because of Henrik Lundqvist. The King is a goalie. Oh, hoo-wee. He, of all players, deserves the Stanley Cup.
I agree with that. I don't like Rick Nash, but for Henrik Lundqvist, I like that guy, and his age is showing, and I think that if they're gonna win it with Henrik Lundqvist, it's gonna be this year.
Yeah, the time and the window for that time is closing on him fast.
Yeah, it's disappointing to see because, I mean, I know that you've always been a big fan of him and his European style.
Yep, I have. So while we're still on the subject of goalies, I remember you brought this topic up to me a few weeks back. Matt Murray is eligible for the Calder Trophy.
Oh, man. Hey, I would love to see that. You win a Stanley Cup and then you get to be the Rookie of the Year, Calder Trophy. That'd be so nice to see.
I don't even know if that's ever been done in NHL history before, and I know a thing or two about NHL history.
You know so much about NHL history it's through the roof. But yeah, I mean, if that is the first time, it'd be nice to witness.
Oh yeah, and we also were talking about that night some coaching strategies that we've noticed over the past few seasons, specifically on the power play.
What would you like to go with about that first?
Well, we noticed that when defensemen are moving the puck into the zone, the offensive team attacking the zone with the power play will load up the blue line with 4 players, and the puck mover can go anywhere.
Anywhere.
You really don't know if he's going to drop past, if he's going to ring it around the boards, if he's going to, flip a little sauce pass cross ice. You'd never know.
There's so many options with that, and I mean, you saw Brad Marchand, the first Saturday night of the week. How Brad Marchand comes, and he's just able to take it to the net, and guys don't know what that guy's gonna do, and yeah, that strategy.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, speaking of Brad Marchand on that first night, the Bruins were down 3-0. They ended up winning 6-3, and Brad Marchand's stat line for the night of 2 goals and 2 assists, 4 points. He may have gotten rid of a bit of his past past.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
if he still has it, that just adds to the repertoire of being, a good skill player and having a little bit of an edge and taking your opponent off their game.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, when Boston builds a lot of stars and they put them on their third line, Tyler Seguin was an example of that. And when you give the fact that they put these stars on their third and fourth line because they're so good at finding these young guys, Brad Marchand finally has that chance to prove himself, and it's obviously taking a toll for the best.
Well, we're gonna take a left turn here and talk about the Edmonton Oilers.
Let's do it.
So this year the Oilers got a brand spanking new palace.
And yeah, it's so nice to see. Luxurious it is to, every single time I see it, I'm just like, wow.
Rogers Place is the official name of the Edmonton Oilers home. And man, it is, like I said, a palace. If a team finally deserved a new rink to go with its legacy, it's the Oilers. And they've also brought Wayne Gretzky on the board of the chair.
Oh yeah, and it's good to have your history a part of your organization like that.
Oh yeah. And one thing that I definitely have noticed is that the lights are definitely a lot brighter than the old Rexall Arena.
Oh, did you see that place? I couldn't even watch a game on TV. It was hurting my eyes so bad.
So I remember hearing on the broadcast that the Oilers, their management brought in MLB, that's for Major League Baseball, NFL, National Football League, and other NHL hockey teams, builders, to consult on how to build the perfect rink for ice hockey. I think that's just shows you the commitment of hockey in Edmonton.
Yeah, Edmonton definitely. I mean, they're supported by their fans. I mean, what they say basically goes, and that city. I've always liked Edmonton. I've always thought that they were great. And watching them in the Cup in 2006, it was really disappointing. It's just the fans.
Oh, with Dwayne Rolison getting hurt. Oh, that was a blow.
Yeah, I mean, ever since then he went down spiral. It was disappointing to see, Phil.
Even the team. But now the team is on the upswing. After having 4 years of number one pick after number one pick, They traded a couple of those number one picks. They traded Taylor Hall for the aforementioned Adam Larson. You know, the Oilers needed a big hulking defenseman,
Yeah.
especially a puck mover, to go with Oscar Klefbom. And they also deemed Taylor Hall expendable with the rise of Leon Draisaitl at center. And they also got rid of Nail Yakupov, who was a right winger. Maybe he was drafted a little too higher than he should have been.
Yeah, you know, he could have been like 20, 30 as a prospect number, you know.
Yeah, I would say in between 15 and 30.
Yeah.
He's now with the Blues and doing pretty good. He's got Tarasenko to help him out. But he just wasn't fitting in with the Oilers, and it looks like the Oilers, you know, bless the stars for them because they have a man named Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid, and you know what? You know, you have, you know, out of the first round draft picks, you have so many stars. You know, you have 5, 6 stars. You know, 5, 6, you know, draft picks, and you have one guy that makes all the difference. Yes, this guy is going to be special, no doubt. And you know, getting rid of these first round picks is going to be good because they shouldn't have been drafted, you know, at number 1. You know, and I just disagree with what they did and the fact that they had no plan for these rookies and how they kind of droughted their careers.
Oh my God, did they not have a plan? When, who was it? Steve Tambellini must have been the GM with Craig McTavish as the coach.
That was garbage.
Right after that Stanley Cup run. But McDavid, being the youngest captain in history, man, he's leading the league in points. In 8 games, he's got 5 goals, 7 assists.
It's the reason why they're 7-0.
Oh, yeah. Well, another reason, Chad, is Cam Talbot.
Cam Talbot is definitely the guy that you want on your team this year. I mean, third star of the week, and you had him, you know, getting these shutouts like he's been, and, you know, last 5 games, 5 wins. It's definitely a big thing for Edmonton.
Oh, yeah. He leads the league with 7 wins. He has 2 shutouts. That's tied for first in the league, and he actually got to learn from Henrik Lundqvist from being drafted as a New York Ranger, which he will always point out by having the Marshmallow Man from the Ghostbusters on his mask.
Yeah, that is. I like that design, by the way.
But I'm happy for Cam Talbot. Last year it looked like he had the yips as the starter, and the Oilers faltered because of it, and, you know, they did not have a good defense. But now he looks more comfortable. They have a better defenseman pairs. They got the right forwards. They got a good coach in Todd McClellan, former Sharks head coach. Chad, I know you're a fan of Todd McClellan's.
I'm a big fan of Todd McClellan and what he did with the Sharks, because the Sharks, I mean, looked like they were going nowhere for a long time until his arrival. And, you know, I mean, even though that they didn't win a Stanley Cup and had the success that I wish they had with Todd McClellan in there, he put the pieces just right. And, you know, after he left, and, you know, San Jose made the Stanley Cup, but that's because of Todd McClellan and what the pieces he put together.
Yeah, and he laid in the groundwork for wonderful head coaching. Peter DeBoer basically just had to put the team on cruise control for the entire playoffs. You had some wily veterans, and you still do, with Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, Brent Burns. You got to think about Marc-Edouard Vlasic. He's 26 maybe, but he's been in the league since he's 18.
Yeah, that reminds me. Who's the guy who came from Pittsburgh? Good defenseman. Good lefty defenseman. He's got
For the Sharks or for the Kings?
For the Sharks. For the Sharks, I mean. Definitely got to look this one up because he is just such a big part of this team, and he was the reason why, a big part of the defense as to why they were able to make the Stanley Cup last year.
Oh, Paul Martin.
Paul Martin, yes. I mean, he just made all the right plays, and, I mean, it was just, you know, having Paul Martin aboard your roster, it definitely bolsters your defense.
Yeah, I had to think a little bit about that because they used to have another puck-blocking defenseman in Doug Murray, who also then went to the Penguins. And
he's almost a second goalie.
Exactly, and I think he's now retired. But speaking of goalies, the emergence of Martin Jones last year.
Perfect positioning, don't you agree, Phil?
this guy makes goaltending look easy.
So easy.
He's always in the right spot. He might let up a goal or two, but he's always where you're supposed to be.
And that was key. That's key for the Sharks to have, along with their defense.
The Sharks fleeced the Bruins, who Martin Jones was a Bruin for about 6 hours from the Milan Lucic trade with the LA Kings.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, Quick's backup was Martin Jones. So then you have Martin Jones being shipped over to Boston for Milan Lucic, and I forget who San Jose sent to Boston. But getting Martin Jones for like a cheap of a price they probably paid, oh my goodness, he took them to the finals last year, and he's still doing wonders for them.
Something Niemi couldn't do.
Well, we all knew Niemi from the 2010 Blackhawks as a man that was mentally competent to play. Very long stretches without a shot on net, and he could stop it. But sometimes, he would get a little flustered if there was a ton of action in his end. He'd overcommit, and now he's with Dallas with Kerry Letton, and that's a giant platoon, just like the Jets, but even bigger because they have both around, I think, $4 million in salary each.
Yeah, and that's a ridiculous situation, I feel, to be able to pay goalies. But it's not that situation that's going to stop Dallas from getting the playoffs. I see Dallas making the playoffs, even though they're in a poor position right now. But their forwards are going to pick it up, and
Dallas also has good defensemen, and one of their best defensemen is Jakob Klingberg. Man, he's kind of like a Duncan Keith for the Blackhawks.
But better.
Yeah, kind of another lanky Swede. He'll fill out, though.
Yeah, I agree.
And speaking of the team that started with the lanky Swede, the Red Wings, they look fast this season.
Oh, man.
Faster than they have before.
And they're younger, average age 27.
Wow, I didn't know it was that young.
Yeah, it was. Man, they got so much better. You got Dylan Larkin, you have Thomas Tatar. Those guys are, Dylan Larkin's by far the fastest. But, Thomas Tatar and there's a few other forwards that, I haven't been able to name, but they are the top 15 fastest in the league. And
I would say Darren Helm's a fast guy, and I want to say the first name is Scott Glendening.
Yeah.
He's a speedster, too. And then you got a guy that's not afraid to stand in front of the net, and Abdel Kader. Every team needs a guy to stand in front of the net.
That guy definitely is a key role player, and his contract says why he's, the man for Detroit.
Very true, Chad. I couldn't have even said it better myself. Well, since we talked about your favorite team, the Blackhawks, we're going to talk about my favorite team, the Avalanche. Well, this season, Patrick Waugh is no longer the head coach.
It's disappointing.
Well, with mixed results, being a Patrick Waugh fan, it was sad to see him go, but it's also good to see a fresher breath of air, especially a guy that has helped coach some of the players that have now developed from the AHL affiliate in San Antonio to now the bigs with the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, it was a really good move, even though...
Yes, because Patrick Waugh would depend too much on Semyon Varlamov, the goalie, and now Varley has, he can rest a little easier.
Yeah. One guy can't do it. 6 guys on the ice. That's what it takes. 6.
Exactly. And they kept their defense around with Tyson Barrie, who was rumored to be shipped off, and Eric Johnson just, finally turned the corner after being with St. Louis for 5-6 years.
It was about that. Yeah, he definitely has stepped up his play, and if they've been waiting for this for a long time, I would like to see him pick up. I'm an American-born player. Let's see it happen.
Yeah, I can only hope for the best for the Avs, but as long as they aren't last, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I think Landeskog is going to be a good captain too. Even though speed, skill. I believe he's got the leadership, and maybe they can be a wild card spot. Hopefully.
Oh, hopefully for sure. Yes, and I like Landeskog as the captain. You got to have he's a good leads by an example player. He can score the goal. He can give you an assist. He can give you the big hit.
Does it all.
Yes, he does. So now, out of the West, we're going to go into the East. Which team from up north would you like to talk about?
Oh, I don't really have anything on my mind right now.
Well, I'll go with the Ottawa Senators.
Okay.
But right now, the Ottawa Senators sit 4th place in the Atlantic Division. Played 7 games with a 4-3 record, 8 points. I just got to say, my friend Craig Anderson, he's on a personal leave right now as of Saturday.
Boy, they miss him.
Personal issues, yes, they do. Everybody has always said that Ottawa is a goaltending graveyard, but Craig has obviously proved the exception. He's helped stabilize that team to help the young core build up.
Yeah.
For Brian Murray at GM.
He's definitely been that tool that they needed for them to build. I think that their defense is very weak still. And with Craig Anderson in there, I mean, he makes a huge difference. I can't say more about him.
They need help on defense though. You hit the nail right on the head with a sledgehammer, Chad.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Matthews put up those 4 goals. Yes, Austin Matthews is skilled. I'm not going to go back and go against that. Ottawa definitely needs a tool build because, going against skilled players and everything, they have no chance. And Craig's out. They're in trouble.
And speaking of Ottawa, in the Atlantic Division, being 4th with 8 points. 5th place is Florida with 7. Also in 5th is Toronto with 7. In 7th is Boston with 6. And at the bottom, in 8th, is Buffalo with 4. So it's a very tight division, although the Canadians have ran with the lead. After 8 games, they are 7-0 and 1 overtime loss.
It's a huge surprise.
15 total points.
Huge surprise. I mean, with being known as a fourth four-liner team, now they're at first place. I never saw it coming.
Especially without Carey Price.
And adding, I thought it was a joke, Alexander Radulov.
Well, it looked like Radulov, a high risk, high reward for sure, to say at least, the very least.
It definitely was. It was a strange deal, but it's obviously working out, and yeah, it's good to see Canadians where they're at right now because Canadian teams need to start winning more.
I agree, and Al Montoya did a great job to help the Canadians at the beginning of the season, who, by the way, are 4-0 at home in the Bell Center, which is probably the craziest atmosphere for a hockey game.
Going back, they're like the Cubs of baseball.
Well, I'd maybe even say the Yankees. Think about all those championships.
Oh,
24 Stanley Cups.
The Yankees and the Cubs will go with, definitely. That's the Montreal Canadiens, if you guys aren't familiar with the NHL.
Especially because they're a classier organization. Now let's switch to the Metro Division with the Penguins, the Rangers, Devils, Capitals in Washington, the Blue Jackets, Philadelphia Flyers, Carolina Hurricanes, and the New York Islanders bringing up the rear.
I'm very surprised that the Islanders are where they're at, even though it's very early in the season. I know that they'll pick it up, but I definitely thought they would be running with it with the team that they have.
Well, the good thing for the Islanders is that they're 3-2 at home, but they're 0-3 on the road.
Definitely need to pick that up then.
Yep.
The other team too is the Washington Capitals with their skill.
Yeah, and they, after 6 games, they're 3-2-1 with 7 points, and they've scored 14 goals and given up 14 goals, which is kind of surprising when you have a Rocket Richard Trophy winner in Alex Ovechkin and a Vezina winner in Braden Holtby in net.
Yeah, Braden Holtby still is looking good, no doubt.
Agreed.
And I mean, you have their defensive core is even. I mean, their team hasn't changed. Their team hasn't changed, and that's the surprising part of why they're at to me.
I'd feel the only person or people that have changed would be they got rid of Mike Green. Matt Green would be the defenseman for the LA Kings.
Mm.
Mike Green was the defenseman for the Detroit Red Wings right now.
Yes.
And they added Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Evgeny Kuznetsov, man, that guy just can move that puck. It's so much fun to see, isn't it, Phil?
Oh, yeah, he can stick handle his way out of a phone booth. But, yeah, I got to agree with you. It's crazy to see the Islanders in last place, but it's also nice to see the Blue Jackets in fifth.
Oh, yeah, with their team and John Tortorella. Nobody's really a fan of him, but I don't know. Well, I think that's going to change real fast.
And one last note about the Metro Division. The Rangers, after playing 8 games, they're 5-3-0 with 10 points. They have a goal differential of +8, the highest among anyone in the division.
That I am surprised to see. I mean, they are very talented, but I mean, Lundqvist is going down. He's playing less games. I mean, we'll see how that goes. But I mean, yeah, they definitely have a lot of teams a lot of players on their team that complement each other very well.
Yep, you definitely got a point about that, Chad. Well, if you don't have anything else left to go, I would like to name some players of the week.
Let's hear them.
Well, I'm going to take Cam Talbot as my goalie of the week. I know he was a star of the week from the NHL, but to help carry a team and lead the league in wins, especially coming out of relatively nowhere, and to help a young up-and-coming team and be part of the core.
Yeah.
It's nice to see.
It's really nice to see. I agree with that. I want to go with Austin Matthews. I mean, I just think that this guy, I think he's going to continue what he's doing, and he's not just the one-game wonder. It's not even about the one game. It's also what he did against the Blackhawks and how he set up, I mean, he was a part of 3 goals and plus a shootout goal. I mean, that's 4 out of 6. The guy will do it all, and he just makes it look so easy. I can't wait to see more.
And my final player of the week, for his achievement in the NHL, is going to be Marian Hossa.
Marian Hossa.
He's closing in on 1,100 points. He needs just 6 more points to reach 1,100.
Yeah, man. That backhand goal that he got for his upcoming achievement that he got the other night, man, it was a good goal, and the guy deserves it. He does it all. Every single team, he was on Pittsburgh, when he was on Detroit. I mean, even when he was playing in Atlanta on the Atlanta Thrashers, this guy just does it all. I mean, he's the big power forward. He can move the puck really well. I like that pick, Phil.
Yeah, his exuberance started all the way with the Ottawa Senators as an 18-year-old, and 501 goals later, 1,094 points later, what a career Marian Hossa's had.
The NHL needs to talk about this guy more.
Yes, he does. Well, for myself, Phil Bernardi, and for Chad Van Dersen,
see ya.
We're going to sign off and hit the showers in the locker room and pack our bags after a nice day at the rink. Thanks again for listening to On The Blueline with Phil and Chad, an NHL podcast. Remember to subscribe to us or check us out on YouTube. Thanks again, fellas and folks.